Hello, it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop, and I'm so excited to be guest designing this month for Ellen Hudson. This month's release is called Leading Ladies, and I'm going to be showing you how I color this stamp from the Medical Lady stamp set using my Copic markers. So let's get started. The first thing I do when I'm coloring people is I do the skin tones first, but before I lay down any of the skin color, I like to lay down my rosy cheeks. So I'm going to be using R32 and R30, and I'm just going to add a little rosy cheek on both sides with R32, and then I'm going to take my R30 and I'm just going to come out just a little bit more. So I'm going to go over it a couple of times to get the colors moving, blending. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my E11 and I'm going to start where the shadowed area would be. So the shadowed area would be right underneath her hair, so it looks like her hair is coming up over her face and casting a shadow onto it. And also we wanted to define the sides of the face a little bit, just to give it more of a rounder appearance. So I'm just going to lay my marker down underneath the hair, and I'm going to come down slightly. I'm also going to fill in those little ears. There's not a whole lot of room for definition there. And then I'm going to take my E11 and I'm also going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath the chin onto the neck. And we'll add a little bit here in that little V area. And we'll also add a little bit of a shadow along the bottom part of the sleeve and all the way down the arm. And we'll do the same thing on this side, all the way down the arm. And a little bit of her feet are showing, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of a shadow directly underneath her pants, and the same thing over here. So now we're going to take the E00, and I'm just going to flick, starting where we laid down the E11. I'm just gonna come down a little bit, starting to fill in more of the face and erasing, well, it's not really erasing, but it's blurring out that line from the E11. And I'm gonna go over the cheeks a little bit more. And also underneath the neck, I'm gonna start to fill it in a little bit more. So I'm just adding a little bit more, coming in a little bit more, filling it in. And the same for this arm. And if you run out of room just like I did here on that foot, then you don't have to worry about the next color. So now we're going to be using the E000, and I'm just going to start where we left off with the E00 and start to flick in. And once I have that blended, I'm going to just do one swipe over, filling in the rest of the face. Same thing here and here. And with the little bit of room that's left over here on this side, I'm just going to fill that in. And now we're going to repeat. As you can see, it looks a little bit kind of muddled, and that's because we need to add another layer. So I'm going to take my E11, do the exact same thing, just trace along the sides where the shadows are going to be. And again underneath the neck. And on the sides of on the inner parts of the arms. And underneath the pants. We're going to repeat with E00. So again, I'm flicking down from the E11. And one more time with the E000. right, so we have her skin fully colored. Right here I have a little bit of a line where you could tell between the two colors. In order to get rid of that, we're gonna go back with our middle color. So we use the E11, then E00, then E000. So I'm gonna take my E00 and I'm just gonna do a flick in between those two colors, and it helps get rid of that line. Sometimes when you go back with that same, with that middle color, you will have to go back with the lighter color just to kind of blend out that edge. So now I'm going to take my E000 and just lay it along the side right where we stopped that flick. Okay, so now for her scrubs, we're going to make them appear white, so we have to shadow them. In order to do that, we are going to be using 3 colors, N3, N1, and N0. We're going to start with N3, and we're just going to add a little bit of color along the sides, in the shadowed areas. So on the inner parts of the arms, I'm just going to kind of trace that outline of the image just a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. And then, so it looks like the scrub continues over her shoulder. We just want to add a little bit of a shadow up here in this corner. And then on the pants, we're going to add a line along the center part, the inner part of each leg. And also a small flick going down, coming out from underneath the shirt. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow to the pocket, so just along the bottom. And then along the bottom of the pants, we want it to kind of curve over a little bit just to make it look round. Then we're going to take our N1 and we're going to go right along the side of where we just laid down that N3. Doing that flick pulls some of that N3 out and makes it easier to blend so you have more of a smoother look. And we'll do the same thing for the pants, so just along the inner part and then flick going down, coming out from underneath the shirt. And her hand is going to cast a little bit of a shadow onto her pants, so just trace underneath. Then we'll take our N0 and do a heavy flick, blending out that N1. We want to do a heavy flick and really push and feather the marker tip so it curls and goes up. That way, because when you lay your marker down, it's darker, and then when you do that flicking motion, it starts to get lighter along the edge, so it blends and blurs out that the color that we've laid down before. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing up here. So I'm just going to do that heavy flick. And the same thing on this side. And on the pocket. And we'll just go and back here behind the shoulders. And then since we are coloring and making this look white, we do want to leave a white area, but I could still see a little bit of the lines from the N0. So I'm going to go even lighter and add my C00. And we're just going to do, again, another heavy flick. That way it blends nicely into the white. And we're going to do that all over, but still leaving that white in the center. That way our shirt appears white, it's just shadowed. All right, and then we're going to color her little shoes there. We're gonna make them a dark gray. So I'm gonna get out my N5, and just along the bottom and a little bit coming up from the little straps and all along the bottom of the shoe. And the same thing over here. We'll go on the inner part and then all along in the front of the shoe. And then we're gonna take the N3. I'm gonna come up a little bit more. Underneath the buckle. And then we're gonna take the N1 and we're gonna get a nice blend on the edge of the N3, and then we're gonna do one swipe to fill it in. Okay. Then we're gonna do her hair a light brown. So I'm gonna get out my E33, E31, and E30. And I'm going to start with my E33. And I'm just gonna trace along the lines that are already here. And then I'm also gonna come up from the underneath the hair and make a few extra little lines just for a little bit more definition. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Come along the side. And then we're gonna bring that color out a little bit more with the E31. So I'm just gonna go directly over, pulling out that E33. And the same thing over here, still leaving some white space. Anytime I color hair, I always do a couple, whatever color combination I'm doing, I'll do a couple lines just like how I've just done. Then I'll take my lightest color, which is what we're using today, is gonna be E30. And then I'm gonna just do one swipe over, filling in the rest of the hair, filling in all those white areas. That way you have all those highlights and all that definition with those lines that we created. And then always go back with your middle color if you need to, if you want to define it just a little bit more. And just make those lines a little bit more defined. And if you need to do it also with the E33 to just kind of go over and touch up a few parts, then you'll do that last. So that way you have all those lines on there and you know which ones you want to define more. I'm gonna go back one more time with my E31 just to pull out right there. All right, and there we have her hairs complete. And now we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of patterns. every time I take my kids to the doctors, their nurse always has on really cute little scrubs. So we're gonna go ahead and give her some little roses on her scrubs. Okay, so we're going to be using the same colors that we used for her cheeks. So the R32 and the R30, and I'm also going to be using BV01 and BV0000, so 4 zeros. And then we're gonna need some little leaves, so we're gonna get out the G21, and we're also going to be using Y26 for the centers of the flowers. So we're gonna take the lightest we're gonna make some purple and some pink flowers. So you're gonna get the BV0000 out, and we're just going to make 3 dots. And I know that they're kind of blending all together, but once we add that darker color, it'll show up a lot better. So 1, 2, 3. We'll do 2 right there and 2 right there. Now we're gonna take the darker one, so the BV01. And I'm gonna make 3 more dots. All right, so let's take our BV. Now that we know we're gonna add those purple flowers, we're gonna go back with the BV 4 zeros. And I'm just gonna go over those dots just to pull the color out a little bit more, just like how we did when we did the rosy cheeks. And then we're gonna take the Y26 right in the center, make a little dot. And now let's make some pink flowers. So let's get out the R30. We're gonna make some little flower petals. And now we're gonna go ahead and take the R32 and do the exact same thing, just make little dots in the centers. And then we're gonna go back over those with the R30, blend them out. And then the same thing with the yellow in the middle. And now we're going to take the G21 and we're just going to lay the marker a little bit on its side. That way it gives it that little teardrop, like a little leaf. We're gonna do that on all the flowers. You wanna kind of move your paper around so that way not all of the leaves are going in the same direction. All right, and that is how I make a small printed pattern on the scrubs here for the little nurse on the Leading Ladies stamp set by Ellen Hudson.